So,
okay. So,
hey, I'm back. Bit of technical difficulty. Just doing a test now. Can you stream on YouTube?
So I can hear you, but you are coming in a little strange. Can you hear yourself?
Just let me get it up quickly. So, actually, let me just try it. Let me just see if I'm off. Yeah, can you still hear?
Yeah, I can still hear you. So yeah, just like listen to kind of how you sound for a bit.
Let me just bring it up quickly. So hello, let's see how this goes.
That sounded pretty good.
All right, okay. We seem to be stable now.
Great.
It might just be it might have just been because I think it might have been because of Discord, or I'm not entirely sure. So I've seemed to have closed Discord for now. It seems to be holding steady. So
okay, good.
Anyway, let's get back to the chapter. So yeah. Anyway, Aykosh Triangle. So we've only got 2 more to go then, and then we're done.
Right. So Ayakashi, you were saying you found something weird? Oh yeah, like about the rankings, right?
Yeah. Like about how Ayakashi is. Oh no, it was about the ominous collector who did a video about the rankings and the cancellations and everything. And apparently, there's it's average at the moment where people are thinking like, oh my god, it's going to get cancelled or something like that. Are we worried about it or something? But after seeing like that author's comment, I don't think it will be cancelled for a while.
Yeah, I think it'll be safe. I'm not too worried. Like if it says at the bottom one for like several weeks in a row, then we can be worried.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at least for a little while, it's just the new series pushing everything down.
Yeah, I think that might be the reason as well. So,
and surprisingly, I guess the piano manga is doing well enough.
But yeah, you said last week that you were worried that Masuri was gonna screw up this love confession, but nope, it actually went in completely a different direction.
Yeah, they actually confirmed their romance, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is the best day ever.
Yeah. Wait, yeah. So now
we'll come back to this idea later, but keep in mind my feelings for how happy I am about this.
Yeah, I will keep in mind your. So, where would you say this chapter ranks for you this week?
The weird thing is, like, I mean, if it wasn't for like Dr. Stone being like incredibly Dr. Stone, this might have been my chapter of the week, but it's up there. Because like Jujutsu Kaisen and
I'm just gonna say one thing quickly. You know who's not gonna like that?
Oh, fine.
Fine, yeah.
He's not gonna watch this. I don't think he watches your stuff.
I don't think he will.
Yeah, but like with the Jujutsu Kaisen this week, it was a solid chapter, but I thought what happened was what I wanted to happen, expected to happen, but I think it happened in a sort of anticlimactic way. And I don't know if you were going to talk about My Hero, because I think you said you wanted to just do the next 2. But
yeah, I just wanted to do Dr. Stone.
Yeah, so like with My Hero, it was just kind of like, okay, cool, we have a nice setup for next time. It was really well drawn, but it's just kind of just like concluding, like drawing out a drawn out conclusion from the fight that we just had, which was a great fight. But yeah, My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen weren't as good. They would probably still be in the top 5 for me, but Ayakashi just having this moment of them like actually confessing to each other was great. And then what pushed it even higher than I think even those 2 Because even then, it would probably still be a bit lower. But what pushed him higher was Susie's actions later. But we can get to that.
Definitely. So yeah, basically, if people are still here after that technical difficulty, I apologize for that. But yeah, basically, we finally have the two main characters in Ayakashi Triangle, which, oh my god,
it happened. Chapter 69. Did you just figure that out too?
I just figured that out, and it's called More Than Friends.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This author is just on some high IQ stuff right now.
Yeah. So yeah, we have Masuri confessing to Suzu in the same way that Suzu confessed in the last chapter. Now, at first, they think they think it's another joke because there's no way someone would confess their love with a mouthful of sweet potato.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, to be fair, after this chapter, we can definitely probably use he for Matsuri because Matsuri considers himself a guy. But
yeah, but if you remember at the beginning of the series, what was the last line of the chapter from the grandpa? You would have to forget about becoming a boy again. I think it's leading pretty much to the fact that Masuri is going to have to sacrifice the fact that he won't be able to change back to being a boy by the end of the series.
That could lead to some interesting things here, but we'll get to that near the end.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's make sure we don't miss anything.
Yeah. So we have Masuri.
Oh yeah, then like Suzu. Yeah, Matsuri was just like at first, like okay, the first page I thought was going to confirm my suspicions. Right? It's like, there's no way that just happened, and I'm like, God damn it, Matsuri, I knew you were going to do this. But then like Suzu, of course, was following up with, I'm going to pretend I didn't say that, and I'm like, okay, yep, this is going the direction I thought. And then they completely subverted it, like just the next page.
Yeah.
Or next 2-3 pages.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just like a nice summary of like everything that's happened so far.
Yeah, the fact that it took being turned into a girl for him to realize that, hey, she might be kind of into me.
Yep. And it's actually, I like how Shirogane also brought up the fact that the very technique he developed to avoid couples from forming is what allowed a couple to form.
This happened, like the thing that he was trying to prevent happening has happened, and he's like, an overwhelming defeat, what have I done?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because I think he's less bothered about them being a couple so much as they're doing all this in front of a shrine, which, you know, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
But you know what would have been even funnier is if it turns out that, because we saw him reading me and Roboco in the last chapter, it would have been pretty funny if it turns out that he's a Yuri fan. He's a Yuri fanboy.
Yep, that probably would have been, well, I don't know, that would have been kind of out of nowhere too, but then, yeah.
But then actually, what's like there could be a chapter coming up where he's, that would be an interesting twist of it coming full circle. Like he picks up, like, I don't know, a Yuri manga, like, I don't know, Citrus. We'll just use Citrus for example. He picks up Citrus, starts reading it, and he starts getting into it, and he's like, oh my god, this could be Matsuri and Yuzu and Suzu. I have to do everything in my power to keep them as a female couple.
Are you bringing this up because he was reading a Roboco manga last time?
Yes, definitely. Okay. So like he reads a Yuri manga and he's like, oh my god, I'm really into this stuff. I want them to be a Yuri couple.
I mean, that's pretty funny. I mean, for now, I'm cool with Rita, Suzu's younger brother, like being supportive of the relationship.
Yeah,
I almost included him in my
You want to know? I'm gonna bring it up because it says on Ayakashi Triangle's Wikipedia page. Let me bring it up. Briefly. Did it say something about it? Oh no, it might. Oh yeah. Here we go. Here it goes. Here it is. Where in the Ayakashi Triangle Wikipedia page, reception popularity. Ever since the debut of Ayakashi Triangle, the term TS Yuri, which stands for transsexual Yuri, has become a popular trend on Twitter in response to the series' primary romance involving exclusively female characters. So,
okay, interesting.
yeah,
Wait,
that's
so that was a
interesting.
thing in Japan?
Yeah, that was a thing in Japan. That's a thing in Japan. So apparently, Japan really, really wants them to stay a Yuri couple.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, I guess I also depends how they're defining. Okay, this is going to take me a while to wrap my head around, because like if we want to consider Matsuri trans, it's more like he would be a trans male where he's a man in a woman's body situation.
Yeah.
But if you still want to classify that as Yuri because of the physicalities, I guess that works.
Well,
so I mean, yeah, I would be fine with that if we're keeping it that way. But I think even in that situation, Matsuri would still consider himself a guy.
Yeah, well, hey, if he wants to consider himself a guy, go for it. But I feel like this is kind of like the way that they're going. Like, I feel like he'll still consider him a guy, but I feel like he won't be able to transform back into a guy. I feel like that's kind of like the direction they're going.
I mean, that would be interesting because, especially like what happens in this chapter is that as soon as they try to like start the whole being lovey-dovey couple, Matsu's like, wait, no, we can't do anything until after I get to become a guy again.
Yeah,
but then if he can never become a guy again, that's. I love that on page 11 where she's like, where Matsu's like, you convinced me that I'm actually a guy, and then Suzu's like, dang it, I screwed up. I made a bad choice in the light. No, wait, hang on.
Yeah.
In the story choices.
So wait, does that mean that that Suzu's actually secretly a Yuri fangirl herself?
I think this basically just confirms she is bisexual as hell.
Oh, yeah, because that would explain why she has no problem with Yayo doing all of that perverted stuff with her.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think that's like it's a fun aspect to the character. They don't really have to point it out. It's very obvious.
Yeah, it's very obvious. So and again, Matsuri thinks his female self is a different person, even though it's still him, just in a female body.
Yeah, I mean, he still has some hang-ups about his own identity, but I feel like you said, if the story is going in the direction where he can never reobtain his male body for whatever reason, then this might be something he has to come to terms with.
Yeah, but I feel like it is something that he's going to come to terms with, because you see him here, you see me, he's kind of like sweating over it as well on that page. It's like I want this to happen, but at the same time, I'm still hanging on to this belief that I consider myself a guy.
Yep.
Yeah. So. And then we have Shigerini going, I forget that Matsuri is considerate to an extreme.
Yep. I mean, he's right. So I guess I was wrong about Matsuri screwing up the confession, but he is kind of screwing up other things. But it's okay. Yeah. This is progress. This is good progress.
Yeah, this is the character development I think we've wanted to see from this relationship for a while. Now, then
the next page. So what elevated this chapter for me, like even above like the other big series, because like Black Clover had like a great chapter, as I mentioned. Undead Unluck was enjoyable as well, but what really pushed this up, like Red Blood Stone, was just the fact that not only did we get the confession, which was great, but Suzu's basically just straight up was like, okay, no, we have to like, if you're going about proper order, we have to like already be married. And I'm like, you know what, Suzu? This is great. Yeah, you are the best female protagonist. Well, you're not really even the protagonist, but whatever.
Well, she is kind of
I guess if we call her the love interest of the character, she is probably one of the best love interests.
Yeah, definitely. And also as well, she's trying to just get a kiss off of Matsuri. Even going as far as to use her Ayakashi powers.
Yep, I mean, she's really stubborn. I mean, I love that when they added that character in the story, just her being so proactive. Because that's the other thing, like, bothers me in other romance or is it just because? And again, we'll talk about this a bit more later, but the character is not being very proactive about very obvious feelings that they have.
Oh yeah,
Just
definitely.
for like no reason.
Definitely.
So, and I'm assuming it's a similar situation in Blue Box. Again, I haven't read it, so I don't know. But that's kind of the vibe I was getting.
With Blue Box, it's kind of more of the fact that they have something else other than the romance to contend with, because it's a sports series as well. Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't see how that would. Again, that feels just like a weird excuse to use to not be in a relationship, at least to me.
Well, also as well, it's the fact that the two main characters now, who in Blue Box, the male lead is in love with the female lead, and it's the fact that they are, and it's the fact that she's moved into his house, like his family house. So it's kind of like I can kind of see why it's being a little bit like how about because if they have a bad breakup or anything, or it's going to be kind of
like kind of how like in Witch Watch we talked about how like Nico doesn't want to confess because if Moy rejects her, then it'll be awkward. I mean, if they brought that up in the story, I'll give them that. At least that's fair.
Yeah, I mean it's not brought up yet, but but also as well, the female lead is actually going to be going away at some point, because that's what I think I mentioned. Yeah, that's what they're building up to, like her going to nationals and moving away. So moving away overseas. So it kind of would be kind of awkward for them to confess and then all of a sudden, bye, I'll see you in a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay. It's well, whatever. I mean, when I read that series, I'll be able to make my judgment. But I'm just gonna wait for the anime announcement or something.
Oh my god! I have only just realized exactly how horny Suzu is actually getting.
Oh, you just realized, man, Suzu is horny all the time in this series.
Like
they're living in front of a shrine where people worship gods, and she's doing this.
Pages 14 and 15. Look at the bottom of page 14 when
Matsuri her goes, like knees are literally.
You can't say it. YouTube got to be friendly.
Right.
Yeah. One of
we should have talked about this series.
One of the curses of talking about Ayakashi is that we can't really talk about some of the obvious stuff that's in it.
Yeah, you can just like cut out that part. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to do any editing because we have.
I'm not going to do any editing. But I think we can get away with that because I kind of like censored you.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but yeah, Shigeru's like Shigeru's like, hey, don't make out at a shrine.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just perfect.
Yeah, and then
that's exactly what he hated. Like this whole backstory was about that.
Yeah, and then we get nice Bakugo again.
And then I just want to say, like, for that, even after Shirogane comes in, Suzu's just like, okay, but when we go home, it's like she hasn't given up on this.
No, she hasn't. I don't think she is going to give up. And then there's a
favor she sets up for like the last page.
Yeah, and I don't think she is going to give up.
Nope, and that's going to be great.
Yeah,
because that's just going to be a good, fun gag to keep going back to.
Definitely. And then of course we have nice Bakugo, Nirokuro, aka Nice Bakugo, finding out about it. It's like, oh, this is none of my business, but yeah, he's still thinking about Matsuri as a girl.
Yeah, which I do feel kind of bad for him, but at the same time, it's just nice to have Ninokuru back in the story. That's the other thing.
Definitely.
We haven't seen him in the longest.
But you want to know what would be even awkward? I'll tell you in a second, because the only bit of plot progression, aside from the big stuff, like the little bit of plot progression, is like him preparing to attack Shonome's base.
Wait, sorry. What about Shonome's base?
Like the only bit of plot progression for him is like, okay, this is not my business. I'm training to attack Shonome's base.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what how that attack will go off it, because it feels weird how he was never involved in the battle between Shadow Mei, Chariku, and Gaku. Basically, the last big battle that you've just had.
Yeah, I just assumed he was off on his own missions or something. But also, I just noticed his shirt has the word beans on it. I don't get the joke there.
What's on it? Beans.
Like his shirt. Beans.
Oh, I don't get
that.
it. Maybe he has maybe he eats developed the power of beans.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
But
of course,
I guess the next chapter maybe we'll talk about the Shadow Mei base attack.
Yeah,
I would personally like it a little bit more if I'm hoping Suzu. Wait, sorry, what was her friend's name again? The not Lulu, but the other one.
Yayu.
Yayu. Yeah, I hope Suzu goes up to Yayu and says, "Oh, hey, I confess it." He confessed back. But we're not quite dating.
That's what I was going to get onto. Like,
okay.
I want this, like, this is embarrassing, just deal with it. And then as they're walking back from the shrine, you just see Lucy and Yayu just hanging out there, and you see them holding hands.
Yeah. And then, like, Yayu will know what that's about.
Yeah, and then it's going to be kind of awkward, because Yayu will be like, "Oh, great, you're a couple," and then Matsuri will be like, "No, we're not a couple yet." And then Lucy will be like, because Lucy doesn't believe anything that's going on, and I don't think she knows about Matsuri being a male yet.
Nope. I think I forgot if they tried to explain it to her.
They tried to explain it to her, but she thought she
probably still doesn't get it.
She thought that they were just making it all up.
And I don't know if anyone's watching us right now, but I do like the running gag that the girl who just believes in aliens and everything can't believe her own friends with this, because the story is almost somehow more ridiculous than the occult.
Yeah, I can't believe that Lucy believes in aliens and everything, but doesn't believe that. But a man being changed into a woman by a demon of the underworld, that's way too much.
Yeah, that's not science at all.
Well, neither's aliens, Lucy. But yeah, really fun chapter, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this where this direction goes, whether or not Matsui will be turned back into a guy or not. Personally, I would think it would be more appropriate, like more perfect of an end of, like, he has to sacrifice himself and he has to come to terms with the fact that maybe I've been more of a female than I'd like to have believed, and he actually does start to identify as a female.
I mean, gender identity is a whole complex topic that I'm not sure if he'll necessarily change his mind on that. But if he has to live his life kind of as a trans man, and they kind of tackled that with some level of grace, that could be a very, very interesting way to end the story.
Yeah, and I would be
personally. I could see why you would like that. If they handled it well, I would really like that too, because it would be a great way to be like, hey, this is the kind of story that you don't see every day. But no. I feel like it won't. I think it'll go the more cliche route of him being a male, or possibly him being able to switch between male and female at will.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I think that's how Ranma 1/2 ended. I'm trying to remember. That series was a long time ago, but this Ranma 1/2, for those who don't know, is like a really old shonen series. I think it's shonen, where the main character Ranma has like a curse where he turns into a woman or female physically when he's like splashed with water, and switches back the same way. And this series kind of reminds me a lot of that, because it's also like very focused on like a central couple. But yeah, that's a really good classic series. And Ranma, I think, ended. I don't know if his curse went away or not. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's been too long since I've read it.
All right, fair enough. But we'll see where this development goes.
Okay, and I guess we're not really going to bother My Hero. Then that just leaves us with Dr. Stone.
Dr. Stone, and gotta say, all right, fair enough. We're not getting Suiko and Chroma and everyone else that should be going to the moon, not going to the moon. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, wait. Well, hold up on that for just a quick second. I mean, I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but you did say things could go wrong. And if things go wrong, we might need a rescue crew. Let's just keep this idea in mind.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's what I said, because I was messaging Sean and OG during that. So, when we were discussing the chapter on Twitter. So let me bring it up, if I can find it.
I think he said something about like the logistics of like bringing more people, and I see what he's saying, but at the same time,
here it is. So he says, well, I said to him that like he should do he needs to do a video on why Tsukasa is staying behind, because people seem to be angry because Tsukasa, it was stated that he was revived for the purpose of going to the moon and now he's not. But I think
there's I have a lot to say about that.
I think there's actually more to that than meets the eye. Like, if people have actually been watching Tsukasa's character arc throughout the series, they'll know that, and they'll know that plans change with Dr. Stone, because remember what they were saying, like, we're not going to build a computer, and then immediately when in the same chapter, we're building a computer.
Yeah, but well, again, we'll get to that when we get to that part. I have like a lot of things to say about that particular.
We'll get to that. But here's my question that I had to him. It's like, how are they going to unpetrify themselves once they're up there?
And that is a very good question, actually, because like the only thing I could think of is that weird mechanism Chrome came up with once for like something to auto depetrify them.
Yeah, because I said, because this is my idea of like, okay, we're jumping ahead now. We'll jump ahead quickly, but even though we're not going to have like all the characters going to the moon to confront Y-Man, there should be at least some who float around in space. So like, if something goes wrong,
they can I'm thinking that too.
Like, they have the separate capsules for the rocket, and then they that join together. But also they could have escape pods, so like they're floating around in an escape pod in space. So if something happens, they can land on the moon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that we won't see a lot of the characters on the moon. Maybe we will, but I do think more can still possibly go up to space itself.
Yeah, because they say going to the moon, but they never say anything about like which characters are going in to be in space.
Yeah, because they still have to build an entire rocket in space. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, but yeah, he said, I'm sure there'll be mechanisms emanating how that, because he was mentioning like how when Senku threw the petrification on Treasure Island, kind of preventing from being petrified. But I said in rebuttal to that, we know Senku has the worst luck in the world, so this time that might not actually work.
Yeah, and I kind of am in agreement with you, because like, I mean, I hate jumping ahead a little bit, but we did, since Zeno did say, okay, we're going to have 3 people petrified, like before including the takeoff, I was thinking to myself, wait, that is asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Why was this part of the plan?
Okay, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Hold that thought. We'll just quickly breeze through this. So basically, chapter 219 entitled Free Heroes. So yeah, we have everyone deciding like our rocket will seat 3 people, and these will be the astronauts going to the moon. And of course, we have everyone deciding who it's going to be. And we have Yo. The memes have come out about Yo's line just here already.
Oh yeah, I did want to
mention Call of
Yo's
Duty.
line.
The Call of Duty. So you have Yo's head on the cover of a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter.
Yeah,
it was great. But I did see a lot of people make jokes about like Yo going up to space. So it's kind of one of those times where it's like, does the author know about the jokes we make online?
Yeah, but also I want to say, I do agree with you. Like, yeah, this kind of has been rushed with the whole world building aspect of Doctor Stone, because like literally,
I mean, again, we'll get to that when we get to that page.
yeah, literally this
That's like
first page. This first page, we have an entire city built up.
That's what you mean. Yeah, that's kind of been happening in the background. But at the very least, that bugs me a little bit less, because one thing in the series that I think is fairly criticized is we've had years pass by, but the time passage is kind of hard for us to visualize. So I think at least watching the city that we're in build up over chapters is at least some indicator of time. So that part doesn't bother me too much, at least in Japan. But we'll get into what I said on Discord about world building in a bit.
Yeah.
Let's go into Zeno's speech.
Yeah, so we have Xenu saying, okay, settle down everyone, this is how we're gonna do things. Okay.
And a nice touch is that the monitors are there so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so are we on the same page, or are we on the same page as the manga? Like,
sorry, we're on page 2, but what I meant
I'm just saying, like, it's like Xenu saying, like, okay, we're on the same page as the manga. Senku, are you on the same page as the manga? We are the manga, Xenu.
Okay, that's where you were going with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a nice detail there, the monitors being in the room.
Yeah. Here in our
so then the petrification, they're going to be petrified for flight and takeoff. So yeah, this is kind of where I want to start. Because even though this was my chapter of the week, and I think this is an important point, that even series that you love, like Dr. Stone's like my favorite ongoing series right now, and that's still a pretty high statement because series like Eden Zero and Fire Force have been incredible. But Dr. Stone, like, I do have like a lot of things I want to say with this chapter, starting with this point here. So to my knowledge, when you launch a spaceship, you have astronauts who are manning the ship, and they have to be like, okay, all systems are good, flight's being maintained, all the little gizmos and gadgets that tell us how the air pressure is and things like that are still like green. Like, these are stuff that the astronauts have to say. But a side note, I'm also watching a series called Irina the Cosmonaut that's also doing these things, so that's why all of this is fresh in my head. But if the astronauts are petrified, how can they possibly do any of that?
Exactly.
And the justification the series came up with is that the life support systems are very bad in their time or something. Is that right?
Like, I'm surprised again, or no one brought up Ukyo should have I found it. No, Ukyo, this is a distinct disadvantage in our new world, because how, like, here's like, that just raises so many questions. Like, when they get up to space, like, are they just gonna have like the without food just floating around and just hoping that it lands on someone?
See, I think that what the author is trying to do is, I always thought that the Medusa, whatever the original intent, one possible thing it could be done or designed for was like cryo sleep, like long-term space travel. And they might be hinting at that here with what they're doing. But I have to agree with you, this isn't a distinct advantage because there's too many variables to make sure things don't go wrong.
Because what happens if they don't get unpetrified and they crash into the moon?
Yeah, and honestly, I think that the plan here, like the whole getting them petrified for the launch, was just part of Senku's like old plan for the one-way rocket, where he's like, okay, well, we're probably not going to make it back anyway, so I'm just going to not bother with the life support system. Yeah, because I'm just like letting myself get killed on the moon.
Yeah, but no, somebody has to bring that up, because
I don't think they will. I really don't think they will. Like, because no one's debated it here.
Like, how is this plan even going to... Like, this plan is going to go so badly that... This is probably Inagarki's way of saying, like, yeah, if you're smart enough, audience, you can figure out, like, yeah, this is not the sharpest moment for the Kingdom of Science.
Nope. But it's also one of those times where you're like, Senku, you're supposed to be the smart character.
Yeah.
Why do you keep coming up with these plans that have all these flaws?
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Senku, but this is a very dumb plan.
Yeah, this is a really dumb. Like, I love you, Doctor Stone, but this plan is going to go so badly so quickly.
And I guess to be clear, it's probably done on purpose, as you said. We made a bad plan on purpose, just like Senku's one-way rocket, where it's like, okay, we're not going to abandon you guys on the moon. That was never going to happen. Senku just went out of his way to be like, oh, we don't have time to build this two-way rocket and blah, blah, blah. So Chrome could have his moment. So we're having this as a problem to solve later.
1 second, you can continue on.
Oh, yeah. So basically what I was saying was sometimes in Dr. Stone, they come up with problems to be solved later. The one-way rocket was one of those problems where like we just needed it for Chrome and Suika to have their character development, which is fine. This is a problem development in the works just so we have some tension down the line where we have to go and save everybody from the moon.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the way of just like Inagaki and Boichi trying to get everyone to be involved in the final battle of Y-Man, because that's the thing. If it's going to be 3 people, that's going to be weird, because what's one thing that the final battles of between each of the major villains have had in common?
Yeah, you mentioned that everybody
it's involved everyone in some way. Like final battle with Tsukasa, everyone was involved. Final battle with Ibara, like pretty much everyone was involved until it got down to just Senku, Ibara, and Ryusui, and then Sinu. Everybody, you had everybody capturing Sinu, and then Stanley. The final battle was Stanley in South America.
Yeah, although I will say, like with Hyoga's battle, that was just Senku and Tsukasa.
Yeah. Here's the thing, I don't consider Hyoga one of the big major. Despite what Shonoji said, I don't consider him like one of the big major villains. When you're looking at someone like Sinu, Stanley, Ibara, and Senku. Not Senku, Tsukasa.
I'm not sure if I agree with that, but that's a debate for a whole other video. Yeah. So let's leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next thing is so then the next stuff was, yes, I see why they included this next part of dialogue, but there's a small part of me that kind of wish they didn't, where they basically said the reason we're not using 21st century astronauts because of the nature of this mission, so we're going to choose one of the 3 of us. Now, obviously, in a story like this, they have to include like one of our team as part of the people going to space. It would be ridiculous otherwise.
Yeah.
But it's almost, they want to justify why we're not reviving trained professional astronauts.
I know. It just seems like just a roundabout way for Inagaki to say, like, okay, realistically, it should be astronaut. It should be 21st century astronauts, but story-wise perspective, yeah, it has to be one of them.
Yeah, and they come up with this justification, but it's honestly pretty weak in my opinion, because once because they're inside a rocket, and what are they going to do against the Y-Man? It's like, oh, we have knowledge of how your device works. Like that doesn't really help them.
Yeah, that doesn't help much, because the unprecedented difficulty comes in not knowing the exact nature of the mission, who exactly is Y-Man. Like, even they don't know about it, so it's like you kind of contradicting yourself there, Sinu.
Exactly. The only thing I will say that could qualify this is, then this comes up over and over again, and maybe whatever happens down on Earth will be part of this, but they're keeping immortality and a lot of the details of the petrification a secret from the population as a whole. So it could be that they don't want to bring astronauts into it, because then they're going to have to reveal things about petrification that they don't want to.
Oh, yeah. I could definitely see that being a possibility. And like I said, I could see it being a possibility that the reason why so many people are being stayed behind on Earth is obviously you can't have every single one on the moon. That's just physically impossible.
Yep.
Like,
by Dr. Stone's realistic standards, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, the reason why is that Y-Man, like a certain part of him could still be on Earth somewhere.
Well, we don't really know the nature of Y-Man, so
that's the thing.
The AI theory pans out. That could be.
That's the thing. Like there could be like a Earth Y-Man and a Moon Y-Man.
there could be a Mars Y man by this logic.
Yeah, for all we know, there could be a Mars Y man.
I mean, I saw people on Reddit make a joke about, with Dr. Stone ending. It's like, oh, and then Senku will be end, and then his child will be Dr. Water or something ridiculous like that.
Dr. War.
It was a good joke, I thought. But anyway, it's like, if there's like a Mars Y man, it's like, now we're going to fight aliens. Kind of like how Boruto, they're fighting aliens right now, if you didn't know.
Oh my god. Oh my word.
I love it, honestly, but that's me. We're not talking about Boruto right now.
So yeah, still keeping with this 3-man mission, even after that whole thing of it not being a one-way mission, still keeping with the 3-man mission.
Yeah, I mean, some people have mentioned it's probably to parallel the Apollo launch where they had like 3 people. And maybe they're just logistically only so big you can make a rocket to launch so many people. Yeah. So I thought multiple rocket launches, multiple people. Maybe people will still be in space, but not the moon. Well, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. But of course,
you and I could just be in denial. That's like, no, we can't have just 3-man team.
Yeah. We can't again because it would just be weird. Like it would just be weird to not have Chrome, Suika and Gen just not involved in this final battle with Y-Man in some way. It would just be weird.
Yeah, and like speaking of, I guess on the next page,
you want to know what's funny about all of this? It's like Ryusui, when he first introduced, was just like, I'm going to come in and steal a spot from someone like Ginru and Kinru as a main character.
Yeah, he pretty much did.
It's kind of like he walked onto the set and just said, "Hi, I'm the new main character of this series. Deal with it."
Yep, and we all accepted it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is a small tangent, I do feel like that the characters they introduced after like Stan and Zeno, even the Treasure Island characters, they didn't have as much permanence as like the characters from like Stone Wars, which I think is like a little bit of a weakness of this series, where like the new characters they introduced. I mean, Sai is great. I love Sai. And for those who don't know, I myself am of Indian origin, so I love having an Indian character in the cast. But he's also just kind of just like in the background compared to even his own brother.
Yeah, compared to his own brother. But yeah, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I mean, the only character that seems to have stood out the most after Xenu and Stanley. Well, I guess Xenu
and Stanley were like, Xeno was like the last big character to jump in, doesn't he?
Well, no, Chelsea.
Oh, yeah. Well, wait. Oh, yeah, Chelsea came after Xeno.
Chelsea came after Xenu and Stanley, so yeah, she's kind of stuck around.
I mean, in one of Shonen OG's video brought up that Chelsea, like, even though she is, I agree, like one of the central secondary characters, she has so little to her backstory compared to, like, again, the characters from Stone Wars, compared to Stanley and Zeno.
Oh, yeah,
like,
definitely.
She's just this, and it's weird.
Yeah. I can kind of see where you're going with that. But yeah, of course, Ryusui being Ryusui, that first slot is mine. Am I wrong? And then Chrome is just like the only one who's like, yeah, fine, whatever. You could be the pilot.
Yeah, you're basically the main character at this point.
Yeah.
And then,
which again, it's weird how it's like, how it's like less than half of the main cast, because again, you don't have. You don't have Suika, Chrome, or Gen going up there.
Well, at least the ones that are going up there are central characters. I feel like I know you don't consider Tsukasa like a central character, so you probably are kind of happy with how things turned out.
I'm just confused. Like, why are people so getting worked up about this?
Well,
like,
we'll talk about that because I have some thoughts on it.
Yeah. So yeah, they obviously. So yeah, Senku. Well, Senku going kind of obvious. He's the main character. So there's no debate to that.
Yeah, I would say with those panels, one, I'm glad Zeno acknowledges like he's like the only one who could do ground control, being a NASA scientist. So the justification with him now.
But you want to know what's funny about Xenu in that panel? if you look at his face, he's kind of like begrudgingly accepting it.
Yeah, he is. I mean, but that's kind of Xeno's character right now. It's like, I guess I'm one of the good guys now. I want to be evil and to be a dictator.
I think it's more. I think it's more of the case of like, I really wanted to go up to space, but I've got to stay down here.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, the interesting thing with Xeno is he's never tried to be an astronaut like Byakuya and the other astronauts at the ISS. He was always like a ground, like rocket scientist. So I don't know if it's necessarily like his major goal to go to the moon, like it is with Senku and Byakuya.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, Senku, obviously being picked to be the scientist, that makes sense.
I will say I did want like Chrome and Suika to at least like try.
Yeah, well, maybe that's because maybe that's because they're not trying because something is going to go bad, which means they will have to go up there themselves.
That's what I'm thinking, because otherwise I was kind of upset they didn't even like at least attempt to do this. I know they know it's Senku's dream and everything, and they're being supportive, but you know, as someone who wanted them to go to the moon, and I know you did too, I kind of wanted them to at least earn their slot.
Yeah. But yeah, they don't even try in this chapter. They're just kind of like, again, that just raises an eyebrow. It's like, wait, Suika and Chrome, after everything they've been through, after they've contributed so much to the Kingdom of Science, the fact that they're just going to be like, oh yeah, we're not going to even debate this. Yeah, that's kind of head scratching.
Yeah, because like the only other scientist, I think Samzar brought this up in her video, it was just like Chelsea, because she's like the only other scientist we know of besides the background characters.
So yeah,
and she's not going.
They may be petrified during the flight, but even so, astronauts. Okay, considerably stamina. Okay, this again is like confusing, because if you're petrified, why would you need the stamina training?
Well, I mean, the reason astronauts do all this training is one. Well, actually, you're right. A lot of the reasons are because if they crash land somewhere, then they have to like survive for a bit. Kind of like how our astronauts have to survive on the island in the beginning of the series. But yeah, you're right. If they're petrified, they're just going to be stuck. But at the same time, the other thing is, I guess, when they're on the moon, you just like need to build up the muscle mass in order to deal with like low gravity stuff. I just assume it's like things like that.
Yeah. But yeah,
and you have to like do some like Irina was like a great anime to go over this, because then there's like things in training. Oh, I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but I really hope a lot of this cool stuff happens in the training arc, because I don't think we did training yet. I think this is just the testing.
Yeah, I think this is just the testing as well.
So like a lot of the training they'll need to do is just for emergencies that could happen on the moon itself.
Yeah, and definitely.
I have some thoughts about the training, but we'll get to that at the very end.
Yeah.
So then, the next page,
Senku in water.
Straight drowning.
Yeah.
I thought about taking a picture of that, where I was like, two veteran protagonists of Shonen Jump, Luffy and Senku, get defeated by just water.
Just water.
Put them in water.
Yeah, just put Senku up against anyone, and he goes down, because, like I said,
I know, like he can't like fight anybody, but I just like how like water is what defeats.
Yeah, like Suika, like Chrome and even Suika are physically more capable than Senku.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Suika survived in the Amazon rainforest. I will never get over that.
Even as a little kid, you see that panel of her just holding that mass amount of grass, whereas Senku even struggles to hold one clay pot.
Oh yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, yep. So Suika's just always been stronger. She was a child. Yeah. Senku, so weak. I mean, I'm probably not much stronger, so I shouldn't say anything. But
no, but then oh
yeah, Nikki's back.
Nikki's back, and I love the fact that before we could even question how is Nikki back, Taiju even brings it up.
Oh yeah, that is true. Because I'll admit, when I was reading the Raws for this one, I didn't think about that like twice. I just thought it's like, oh yeah, I mean they have boats, so I wasn't too surprised when Nikki was there. But then I'm like, when I was reading the translations, I'm like, oh, that's a good point. Yeah. Like, why is Nikki here? And then that'll get into my like first well, I said first major rant. I already ranted about the ice petrification at launch. But my next major rant.
Yeah, come on, do your rant. The stage is all yours.
Okay, so I still have to go on to the internet and see what people are saying about this chapter. I read some stuff, but I think one of the big things that went overlooked that's like a flaw, besides the space launch thing, but I can forgive people for not knowing about space launches. I'm just watching space anime. That's how I know this stuff. But this here, when Ryusui says that the internet's back up and running and we don't need to station key people, number one, you station people at like 2 locations. You station them at like Corn City and then Brazil. And then you didn't station anybody in any of the other cities. So that's like my first thing. It's not like there were that many people that were like imported everywhere. And I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity because when this arc was starting, or not this arc, but the world trotting arc, whatever you want to call it, started, I was like, who's going to be left where? But it really didn't matter too much. It was like 2 different places. And the second thing is the fact that since the internet's up and running, people are sharing science tips. So what that seems to imply to me is this is going to be the story's way of justifying why civilization is just developing on its own without the kingdom of science really needing to do much. Like Senku and the others aren't really like telling people, okay, guys, we have to bring civilization back. This is what I need you to do. Like, no, all they're really doing is helping with the rocket. Otherwise, civilization is coming back on its own. People are reviving themselves. People are building their own cities and their own tech, and anything they don't know, they can just ask someone else on the internet, which is how the internet works, which is cool. But then you have to think that bringing back civilization was a huge part of this story. And this chapter is essentially saying, yeah, we're done with that. The rest of it is just on autopilot. We're not going to have the characters go back. They're not going to be governing anything. We're just going to have everyone just go back to normal on their own. And we can do that because they have the internet. So what else do we need to do? And one of the reviewers I watched brought up a good point where it's like, well, what you need to do is you need to govern. You need to make sure people don't go off the rails. You need to make sure that people don't just start fracturing the world at the seams, like right as you are all focusing on a moon launch. Because like, okay, you defeat Y-Man, then what happens? The world will just like collapse back into corruption real fast. Because people can take advantage of the situation with the power vacuum established. But this isn't the series that I guess is going to address any of that unless when they're on the moon, something does happen and it has to do with these other cities because they weren't keeping an eye on them. If that happens, I take back this rant, but I have a feeling that's not going to happen. Okay, rant's done.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like that's the reason why it's sort of like being, because again, it seems like a bit sketchy as well. Like, yeah, this is a bit too happy-go-lucky. Something's bound to go wrong. And here's the thing: we don't need to station key people around the world anymore. Yes, you do. You still need to do that, Ryusui, because how do you know that people are not going to double cross you?
Yeah, because it's like we're going to keep an eye on you through the one computer monitor we put where your city is.
Yeah.
There's no police force or anything.
No, unless Matsukaze becomes a police a cop under Yo's No, he wouldn't be under Yo's tutelage because that would be a disaster waiting to happen.
I do have some things to say about Yo's tutelage, actually, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, like right now, like when they were first unpetrifying people, Tsukasa said he'll take care of any like naysayers. But now everyone on our team is back.
Yeah.
No one's keeping an eye on anything, so we're just trusting.
Who's keeping an eye on the people in Australia? Who's keeping an eye on the people in India?
People could just start doing wars. And like, why wouldn't they? Look at the opportunity they have. The world is free. It's their oyster. The people who revived first have all the advantages they could ever want. And like, no one's going to stop them because everyone's building rockets.
No, nobody's going to stop them.
My God. Yeah, I mean, this is not this.
I love this series, but that is a legitimate flaw with it.
Yeah, it idealizes human beings a little too much. It wants to be positive that people will come together in crises, and they will, but people will very easily take advantage of crises all the same.
Oh yeah, definitely, because again, they haven't gone to Washington. They haven't gone to Washington D.C. and the White House, so Trump is still the president in this world.
Mm-hmm. And we saw how scientists like Zeno went just full evil, and to be like, you know what, I'm not bringing back the president. I'm just gonna be the president.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
but also Senku would want to bring back Trump, which means he brings back a. Let's be real, not the sharpest president in the shed.
Yep, and you're from England, so you know it's bad because it's just how the world thinks of us.
Yeah, and also as well, going back to let me see, just let me check something quickly. I'm just checking when did this happen? When did was it? Let me just check quickly when the actual petrification date was.
I think she said it was 2019.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the actual date itself.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I know the year it was 2019. So June 3rd. All right. So I was gonna say Boris Johnson would, but no, he became the prime minister on the 24th of July. So before him, it was Theresa May. So Theresa May was, we're still in the middle of Brexit. So what happens when Senku revives Theresa May, who's still the Prime Minister of England, and Brexit's still happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's happened for you guys. I heard it didn't work out too well.
It's happened, but at the same time, it took years to get it actually done. But still, even in this world, Brexit is still on hold because of the petrification.
Wait, I actually always wondered. I mean, I know we're getting to politics now, but like, so everything with Brexit happened, right? You guys are separated from the EU.
Completely. Yeah, we're separated now.
Yeah, so like, did that all pan out?
To be honest, I've not been paying attention. To be honest, nothing's really happened in to me, so it's not really it's not really affecting me. So I've not really paid attention, but I just find that funny.
I remember it was such a big deal that, I mean, even here we talked about it all the time, and I was like, pretty much, Brexit happened and nothing. It's like when people say like, oh, the apocalypse is gonna happen when we get something a major change happening. It's like, no, nothing's happened. Everything's just stayed the same. Yeah. I mean, recent events of the last year have told us that the world will kind of stay more the same than different, even when faced with the end of the world.
Yeah, that's. I just wanted to bring that up. So, like, we've still got like, not the sharpest president in the shed, not sharpest prime minister in the shed as still prime minister. So, yeah, what's? Oh my god! I know this is getting great, but what happens if a can I as an Indian, do I have permission to say this?
I don't know what you're gonna say.
Like, what if an Indian was in Washington at the White House with some revival fluid?
Okay, and
because you know how Trump is like, build the wall, keep all the immigrants out.
Yeah, I mean, that has a lot to do with Mexico, though.
Yeah, so I was just I didn't want to like offend you or anything, so I was just making sure
that
you were
really
okay
nothing
with
to do with Indians. So
okay, all right, fair enough. But yeah,
immigration is like a whole other topic, but I mean that specifically is more focused towards our southern border.
Okay.
The small version I can tell you is that a wall will do very little good, and it's just a really expensive project that people justify for no reason.
All right, yeah. Okay, getting off the topic of politics for now, back to the chapter. Yeah, we got way off on a tangent there.
Yeah, okay. Next page will lift my spirits because this is like the best part of the whole chapter. Taiju and Yuzu getting back. I mean,
where's the kiss? Where's the kiss? We need the kiss.
Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so I said this on like a different video that I was watching, but like at this point, you have civilization basically back. The chapter confirmed it. And we have these two reunited. There is no reason they shouldn't be going out. They're not even going to space. just like start dating or get married. They don't even have to date.
You'd think they would have just gone married now out of sheer boredom.
Yeah, I mean, other people have said it's like it's been years. Our characters could have gotten married and started having kids.
Yeah,
started helping.
maybe Yusu's headband is preventing it. It's always to do with the headband. That headband.
Yes.
It's all that. I'm still gonna make that a running gag. Like the headband is still the key to everything.
Yep. But oh my god, I love how happy she looks in that picture.
Yeah.
Man, I just love their relationship, and they better just like get. I thought before Senku goes into space, that's the best friend, best man at their wedding right there. Just like have a ceremony before he goes. He
Yeah.
can die for
Hey! The rocket could be the good luck package.
Could be the what package?
The good luck package where you have something old, something new, something bold, something blue.
That sounds familiar. I just don't know what you're talking about.
I think it's a British. Let me just check. Good luck wedding package. Wedding gifts.
I mean, in America, like as far as I know, there's like I forgot what it's called, but there's like a list that you can. What's it called? There's like a thing where you can like check off like, oh, here are things we would like for presents, but
yeah, I think it might. I think it might be. I think it might just be a British thing that.
Yeah, because I mean that what you just said sounded familiar.
Yeah, it might just be a British thing that. But yeah.
Wedding registry. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we have Taiju and Yuzu. So yeah, best part. I just need to point that out.
Yeah.
And then we have
Ginru, Ginru Kohaku ship. No, it's never going to happen.
I like how it was just like going for Kohaku and Ruri. I mean, it's kind of funny. Kohaku and Ginro have had some moments.
Yeah, so you want to know what would have been even better? Is if Chrome was there with Kohaku and giving Ginru the beating, because he does not go
after Ruri for himself.
Yeah, because Ruri and Chrome is the only ship that I feel needs to still happen aside from Taiju and Yuzuriya.
Yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, with Ginro.
At the same time, I suppose you could have Fran and Ryusui as like a ship.
I mean, I don't see them as romantic partners personally.
Well, no, I wouldn't see them as like a ship romantically. I'd see it more like, okay, they know each other and trust each other the most, so it's kind of like.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So more like a platonic ship.
Yeah, no, I got a platonic pair. That's the thing. Yeah. But yeah, for Ginro, one, I still wanted him to reunite with Kinro because I remember last time. I think someone pointed out it's like he's on the video conference and he doesn't even acknowledge his brother.
I know.
He's seen him for years, and now he still hasn't seen him.
I know.
But I also like how in the panel where he has all those bruises, he's actually still smiling. I think he's still happy to be home.
Oh yeah.
It's a nice touch.
I think it is. But one thing I want to say is like, I'll say it when we get to it. When we get to that part in the chapter. Yeah, I'll save it for when we get. But it's to involve Kohaku and what's on her back.
Oh, sure, yeah. That's fair. So then we have like some Gen and Xeno stuff, and then the swimming thing.
Yeah. Also, they pointed out quite appropriately is that again, Boichi is really struggling to draw some of the scars because, like, you see Tsukasa's face; it's completely scarless.
Someone brought that up on Twitter, and I'm actually just gonna say what I said there. He's in the water. It's gonna wash off.
Oh yeah, good point. Good point. Fair enough. Yep.
So I mean, I get it. Like you've always pointed out in your reviews when these have been missing, but this time now, makes sense.
Okay, fair enough.
And it makes sense since Senku's the only one with permanent scars.
Yeah.
And then but I did like how like Senku just because I think even he was surprised that everybody was back. I think he didn't even know. So he was just like, "Oh, my friends are back! Yay!" That's how I read his expression there.
And of course, we get a nice Senku moment here, like with him thinking about Byakuya.
Oh yeah, I love the flashbacks in this chapter, this one especially. But I also have to say it's very shonen-y for him to think about his dad and then immediately figure out how to swim. Like that's how
I know,
swimming works.
I know.
Like this chapter has like just the goofiest stuff, but I think what I love about it is just like all these characters are back. I just love these characters, and they're all back in top form.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, who are those people who are those people writing with Chrome and Suika? Are they like the modern Japanese people?
I guess they're the modern Japanese people because they say
Okay, because we
those
were talking about the
Ishigami
Ishigami village.
Yeah,
guys.
so I think they're modern Japanese people that were revived off screen.
Okay, cool. I mean, it was just that was a nice like little boat thing. In the anime, I kind of hope they kind of have like a little bit of commentary. Maybe
Well,
Chrome and Suika.
in the anime, what they'll do is like, because that's what they normally do. When you have those like characters like that, they'll usually have like character stand-ins for that. So it'll probably be like, oh, they'll get more detailed with them.
Yeah, I do remember one of the modern Japanese, like it was like a very like cute girl with like a nice design like Gens. I hope we see her.
Yeah, I hope we see her. Yeah, but going back to that, because if you look at the chapter where Kimu first gets his glasses, you just have like little blobs in the manga, whereas in the anime, it's like the villagers, the actual villagers saying those lines.
That's actually a good point. Yeah. The anime has to do a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting for this last part of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, Byakuya moment is super nice. Always a nice touch. And I think these flashbacks. Well, actually, I'll talk more about that later. Let's just keep going with it.
Yeah, and then we get onto the part that Kohaku looks like she's been dreading the most.
Yep. I mean, she actually looks determined for a second, but then she's like, "Nope."
No, because you see her in the panel next to Sakata and Senku, like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then as soon as Ukyo says they give them blank white puzzles to solve or another test that demands patience and diligence, she's like, oh, what have I got myself into?
Yep.
And then I can only imagine what's going through Gen's mind right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll get more. Again, I think it had some fun commentary afterwards with Chelsea.
Yeah.
With it's just like, who came up with these? And then it's just Sai sadistically making a maze puzzle. But I do want to say with that maze that Kohaku is looking at, like knowing Boichi, that maze is almost 100% solvable. But I couldn't do it. I tried. I was like, I thought about doing it and then sharing on Discord, like, hey guys, I did it. But like, I tried it. I was like, nope, can't. No. Like, I could probably do it if I spent like hours.
I could probably do it myself if I spent hours as well. Like somebody needs to caption this and try to actually spend hours doing it. But
I'm sure someone in the fan base will do it, but I don't have the time. Even because I was going to do this with you for one thing.
I don't have the time as well. And of course, Kohaku being Kohaku, because, well, she may be good in combat. When it comes to science stuff, it goes over her head.
Yeah, which I think actually brings up an interesting point. I mean, we're going to talk about this a little later, but Kohaku does ultimately become like the choice for the astronaut. But it seems like to be selected, you don't actually have to like be the best at all these tests.
Well, here's the thing. Lillian just bought her way onto the just bought her way to being an astronaut. I doubt she went through the tests.
Very true, but I mean, it's just kind of like the tests help us determine what exactly is what I was more saying, because it's like, I mean, sure, Senku has like the best concentration. Kohaku can't do any of this, but like I think with, for example, Tsukasa. Well, actually, we'll talk a little bit more about it later. But I think Tsukasa would have been better at these kinds of things. So that almost also makes him a better candidate. But we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Yeah, and of course we get the equilibrium trial.
Yep, that's hilarious. I mean,
Oh
I was
no,
wondering how they were going to do that one.
wait. Have you noticed something? Kim. Oh yeah, Kimu's there as well. So yeah,
yeah.
So they're all back in Japan. I don't think you mentioned. Oh, it would have been funny in that panel when Gimu got all those bops on. If it was actually Kimu just standing there with him and being like,
just exhausted.
Yeah, just exhausted. It's like, how am I related to this guy again?
I mean, to be fair, the equilibrium took everybody out of it. But
Yeah.
I was wondering how they were going to do that one, because that's like a very fun test, just to test zero gravity. I guess they just spun him in a wheel.
Yeah, and of course, Tsukasa's former men being impressed by his jumping abilities.
Yeah, that's another interesting detail with the background. If you look at like the way everyone's outfits, they're all slightly different. Like you can see, like the Ishigami villagers, they have like the blue outfit, or blue black, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Then they have the American soldiers, I believe, like the guy with the buzz cut that we've seen.
Yeah, I get who you're talking about.
Yeah, they each have like different details saying where they're from, and I do like that. That's another thing I like about this chapter. Everyone has like very clear, like this is a coming together part of the story.
Yeah, definitely. But then we get into the part that I think is I want to say it's the most controversial part of the chapter.
Wait, is this before Tsukasa says, "Is it settled? Is Tsukasa a warrior?" That part, or?
Yeah, it's the most controversial part because it everyone's expecting it to be Tsukasa, and then Tsuyu comes in. It's like, no, not necessarily.
Oh, that. Okay. Yeah, I did. I mean, that particular line, I think Senku does a good job justifying it. I mean, they also kind of set up for the twist later, but justifying where they're like they're not experts on combat, and so they don't necessarily know who's going to be the best for that. So raw stats doesn't tell us too much, and I think that's a good callback to when Senku was in Nishigami Village, and he relied on Kohaku to like tell him, okay, so I don't know how to go about training, or if we need silver spears or any of this stuff. Can you like be my consultant for combat? And Tsukasa has kind of just been their like head of warriors since he got revived. So it kind of makes sense they deferred to his judgment later on in the story. So I think the fact that Zeno says not necessarily all combats are physically good, it just means that they're all capable of going to space. I think that's just their justification.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I think that also kind of says something about my tests, as I was saying earlier. Well, it's not like the person who does the best on the test. It's more just like who can even endure these things.
Yeah,
which,
it's
again kind of questions like Kohaku. She can't even endure a maze.
I know, but it's kind of like when it's kind of like some people are like, it's kind of like in Alpha series where it's like you have the bookworm who's like, oh, if you do it this way, then it might have turned out differently. If you did it that way, then it might turn out differently. And then you have someone else coming in like, hey, it's one thing to be good on test writing on paper, but it's an entirely different thing when you actually get out into the world and have real life experience.
Yep. And then we have, I think, the jump where this was, I guess, our indication that, oh, what's happening here?
Yeah, and it was and I'm really glad that they actually called back to Kohaku basically jumping over the Andes ravine in South America.
Yeah. I think another great like flashback that we had here, and I think additionally, it's like, I mean, one of the things I do want to say is I feel like the twist that we had in this chapter wasn't as set up as it could be for a Dr. Stone setup. but this flashback shows us that the author has shown us that Kohaku has like incredible like jumping and nimble capabilities.
Yeah.
Even from like before this moment, but especially this moment here on the mountains.
Oh yeah, definitely. But one thing I want to say is that Tsukasa doesn't have his double buster blade sword. It's just a regular sword now.
Oh, was it? Let me. Oh yeah.
It's just a regular sword.
I actually didn't even notice that. So good spot.
Yeah, and he's got his scars back now. So does he just have war paint on him on standby now?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure they all do, because like anybody who has scars at this point, like, what, did Gen repaint his scars at all? I don't think he did.
No, Gen didn't repaint his scar. No,
yeah,
he didn't.
I guess they just have like scar paint.
Yeah.
So
we get Tsukasa basically acknowledging that that Kohaku is basically better than him at this point.
Well, not quite. I mean, I think what Kohaku says later is that, what he says is that Kohaku has improved over life and death battles. And I'm thinking to myself, you mean the one with the Americans? Because that's the only life and death battle, except maybe Moe's, that she had.
I think like Treasure Island as well, but as well could be counted.
And like Kirasame?
Yeah, Kirasame, but also like the battle against Ibarra, which Tsukasa wasn't there for, but maybe Senku told him about off screen. But also as well, like the life of death battle with that could have applied to also Stone Wars, the battle at Stone Wars.
Yeah, I guess that's also true, because that's after the first encounter. So
yeah,
fair enough. But even I guess even then.
Yeah. So, and also as well, great closure to Tsukasa's character. Like, science is the great equalizer.
Yeah, those were the exact words Yuzuriya told him when they were facing up the first time. So great callback there.
And also as well, somebody actually said that ruined Tsukasa's character for them. Like, let me bring it up here.
Okay, you do that. I was going to say that here's Kohaku acknowledges that Tsukasa's still the better martial artist, and that kind of like leads me into something I wanted to talk about. But you bring up your.
Yeah. They said on Twitter, no, Tsukasa is kind of wild. It kind of hurts seeing Tsukasa fall for everything his character has been building towards. To be honest, they did him dirty. And my response to that was that I don't think it has, because the whole thing about Tsukasa is that he didn't want a world to be tainted by corruption because of what happened with his sister. And if they actually see the series, he's slowly been coming around to the idea that science is the way to move forward, even though there are some people that would use it for corruption. Ultimately, it's been used as a benefactor to mankind in the end.
Yeah, I agree. He no longer is worried about science being a corrupting force. And I mean, I think in Shonen Oji's video where he talked about Tsukasa needing to go to the moon to kind of like bring up his own perspective, in many ways, Tsukasa's perspective has largely evolved from what it once was.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that he doesn't need to be on the moon anymore
to
confront Y-Man, because he's like changed as a lot as a person since then.
Yeah. Plus as well, he needs to spend time with his sister.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thanks for reading that up. I almost forgot. Why isn't Mirai here yet? Tsukasa, how long have you been here, and have you checked on your sister? Because like I need to see like how old she is. Because for one thing, if she didn't age after all these years,
I think they're deliberately not showing Mariah at this point.
Yeah, it could be. Man, that would have been a great way to. I mean, since he's not even going to space, you don't even need to like have her at a send off or anything.
No.
So, man, I don't know if we'll even see Mariah before like an epilogue. But once we get an epilogue, they'll definitely time skip the characters.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what I want to say with this here is that, and I guess it will go into the next thing too, but Kohaku says that she's not as good a martial artist. And that kind of made me realize that Kohaku, she's never studied like proper martial arts the way Hyoga and Tsukasa have. And even Yo to some extent with police training. And so if Kohaku had studied under Tsukasa, I feel like this moment would have really hit me. Like what I said on Discord is that if Senku gave up his seat to like Chrome or even Suika, like that would have like really hit because that's a master passing on to a student right there.
Yeah.
But here it's just kind of like two warriors who've just acknowledged each other, which is fine. But I think it would have been better and better set up if Kohaku and Tsukasa had a stronger connection. But they really don't. And I think that is, and the reason that bothers me is because Dr. Stone is the kind of series that knew where it was going for like the longest time. And so they can set up things like way, way in advance. It's why I'm going to do a reread to pick up on clues I may have missed now that we're in the final arc. But I don't think they'd set up well enough that Kohaku, like the author should have known like who the warrior was going to be. And if it was going to be, oh, well, we're going to pretend like it's Tsukasa, but then pass it on to Kohaku, that would have been fine for me. And it still is. But they should have set it up much the way they did with Senku and Chrome, where it would make us think, oh, maybe this could happen.
Yeah, definitely.
But it didn't.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And also as well, it makes more sense it would make more sense if Hyoga was here as well. Because Hyoga and Kohaku have kind of had that more connection with each other.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, there was that one Twitter thread, which I don't know if I have saved, but it did a great job showing the connection between those two. And if Hyoga was like somehow the one chosen and he passed on, that would have been great. But again, like this didn't have enough setup. I'm not going to say it had no setup because there was some foreshadowing you and I picked up on previous chapters where Xenu said Kohaku would be good in space, and also Tsukasa on the next page, he makes a very good argument for why Kohaku would be a better fighter in the setting of the moon.
Yeah, because she's more like athletically inclined than Tsukasa.
Well, she's nimble, she's faster, and in zero gravity, that's a huge advantage. Plus, she's lighter, so that's less weight for the rocket. Because the big thing with rocket science is putting enough fuel in for the load you have to send, and that includes material supplies as well as the astronauts themselves.
Yeah.
And I was going to make a joke here, like that chapter where they had the characters weigh each other. Was that all foreshadowing for Kohaku being sent to the moon because she's much lighter?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. I was going to justify that with, oh, well, they brought up her jumping on the mountain in this chapter too. So clearly.
Yeah. But one thing I'm curious about is it says lunar mission. What's underneath Xenu's hand there?
Oh, yeah. I assumed it was the names of the astronauts, but to be honest, it's just kind of random letters. Like, hey, there's like an A, an L, and a D, and none of our characters' names start with that.
No.
There's an N at the bottom. I don't know what's going on there.
I know. Now, a lot of people are debating because we know that the three astronauts are going to be Ryusui, Senku, and Kohaku that are going to be confronting the Y-Man, but that's all they say. They say confront Y-Man. They don't say anything about being the astronauts that will be the only ones going into space. So
yeah, and again, we might be picking at straws here, but I'm okay doing that.
Yeah. Also, as well, I wanted to go back. Has Kohaku just abandoned the swords that were made for her to go back to the knives?
I saw her knives. So you want to talk about things on her back, yeah?
Yeah, that was the thing that I was talking about. Like,
when you said the swords made for her, you mean like the katana?
Yeah, the katana. She just abandoned the katana to go back to the knives.
I guess. I think she works better with dual weapons anyway, so that didn't bug me.
Yeah. But yeah. So we've got.
Wait, did she get new weapons when they forged or they mined minerals in Brazil?
I'm guessing she did. I'll have to go back and look.
I was thinking, are those the knives? Because Senku did make knives from that steel, so I'm thinking maybe that's what that's from.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
but I don't remember.
But yeah, what was going to say? Yeah, Ryusui, Senku, and Kohaku. Now, I do believe that this is probably just an illusion.
Oh yeah, these aren't actually the spacesuits.
These are not the actual spacesuits at the moment.
But
But
the other thing good.
Because the other thing I've noticed is that Kohaku has a gun.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yep.
Because she doesn't know how to use a gun, and this is where I was going to bring up the Yo tutelage thing that you brought up earlier. Well, if they're giving imagery of her having guns, is Yo going to teach her how to use a gun? That would be interesting. Like, we were wondering, why is Yo even here? Like, seriously, why is he here? Maybe he can just teach them how to use guns.
Yeah, maybe.
That would make sense.
But yeah.
I mean, so the one other thing I want to bring up, because we went a little past this, is I enjoy all the flashbacks in this chapter that we've been seeing, because I think it helps add a sense of finality to the story, because we're kind of at the last arc. So kind of bringing back everything that's happened earlier, tying it all the way back here. That's just a nice way to kind of go about this, like, last arc and give us a sense of this is it. We're going to space. We're going to beat my man. The story's almost over.
And also as well, it makes sense for Kohaku to be, looking back on it, it does make sense because she is a direct descendant of not just Lillian, but Byakuya as well.
Yeah, so you're saying this is kind of the astronauts going back into space?
Yes.
In a way, it kind of reminds me of like Byakuya telling Shamil, one day we'll go back in space and eat ramen or something like that.
Yeah, and
so
Ryusui does look like
ramen. I think Shonen Oji brought up something about space ramen in the comments, like when we were doing our other stream.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we get space ramen because we need that.
We need that
closure.
We need that closure. But yeah, Ryusui does look like Shamel in that panel.
Yep, and then Kohaku being the descendant of Byakuya, and of course Senku being Byakuya's son. I mean, this is just kind of perfect.
Yeah, even though I would have loved it to be like Yuzuriya, Taiju, and Senku to be up there as well.
Yeah, that would have been like part of my dream, just because those, in my opinion, the three really big characters of the series.
Yeah, but yeah, that is pretty much everything I had to say. If you had anything else to say.
Let me make sure, because I did have like quite a bit for this chapter. Okay, so I guess the next thing I want to talk about are, since we're at the end of the chapter, is predictions for how things are going to go from here.
Oh yeah.
The next thing is space training. And
yeah, definitely.
For that, I don't remember where I've heard this, but that desert they visited in South America, I've heard that they've used that area to like test like lunar landings and things like that, because like the desert is very similar environment to like Mars, and I guess they can do something similar with the moon as well. So I'm wondering if we'll go somewhere else to do some space training, just to like put our characters in more extreme conditions, to like properly train them up.
Maybe
that's what I'm hoping for.
Here's a question that I have. Do you think that we'll have like a test mission, so like they'll just go up into space and then come back down?
I don't think so. I don't see a reason for them to do that.
No, because like they could do a test where it's just like, because it's like all those rockets just to get the rocket, the satellite rocket working. They had to do multiple tests of that. So maybe they'll actually do multiple tests of this rocket, then shoot them up once, bring them back down to just say like, okay, we're not going to blow up on him. We're not going to blow up as we're up there.
I mean, yeah, okay, I can see that.
Because that's happened before. That's actually happened before. People have like rockets have exploded with people inside them before up there.
They have, but I don't know how many more test rockets they're going to do. And the other thing is, like, once you're in space, it's like you're already like part way there to the moon. So, so I don't know about that, but I'm hoping that we do training, but then we also need to build the spacesuits.
Yes, and then we need to and we still need to build the rocket itself.
Yeah, I mean that's happening in pieces, so they're still working on the components, I think. So that might be a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But Yuzuria is back, so she's gonna need to build the spacesuits. Looking forward to that chapter.
I know.
And then I'm hoping for Yo training Kohaku in guns, because like the other strange thing is like shooting a gun in space is a little bit different, just with like recoil and
I am a complete idiot because I've forgotten throughout this whole exchange to put Dr. Stone's page on there.
Oh.
I am a complete idiot.
Guys, this is our first time trying this. Okay, we're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say on the chapter, and I think that's everything we've covered for the week.
Yeah. So Dr. Stone, for all my ranting, I did a lot. It was still my chapter of the week, just because I love the characters, I love the emotional moments, I love that they're tying all things back from the beginning to now. It has a tremendous amount of issues, but it's also like my favorite series going on. So I'm going to have to be extremely harsh when it doesn't live up to its own standards.
Yeah.
Like with most other series, like with Fire Force and Eden Zero, like just the fact that they're just doing what they're doing is already beyond my expectations. But those series aren't 10s for me. Dr. Stone is a 10 for me. So
definitely a 10 for me as well. But yeah. And I agree with you.
Oh, I just realized, okay, I know we said we were going to do at the beginning of every series how we got into it. So, quick thing with Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone, I started out I got the app. It had some cool art, so I thought I'd give it a try. What hooked me on this is I love science fiction, and I love hard science fiction specifically. And Dr. Stone is a series science fiction about science itself, and I really enjoy that. And on top of it, it combines that with the shonen formula, which I've come to love. So this is why it became one of my favorite series, but why it ended up being at the very top. Well, one, Attack on Titan came to an end, and two, the series continues to have very interesting mysteries. It develops its cast very well, and I think it balances it, at least in the earlier arcs, very well, as by giving everyone a good amount of time. It's a story that's focused more on storytelling than like its power systems or combat. And the art is one of the best in Jump with Boichi's artwork. And then, of course, like the interactions with Boichi with the community on his YouTube channel helped boost that as well. So yeah, Dr. Stone, one of the best series. On the off chance there's someone watching that hasn't started this, definitely start it. I would. Shonen OG made a video about how the best way to start it. The short version, the anime is a good jumping point.
Yeah, and I will say, what got me into Dr. Stone is that Reddit, when it first came out, immediately hooked by the actual first page where it's on that day, every man, woman, and child on Earth instantly turned to stone. So I was immediately hooked right there. And what kept me going, and this is the same for We Never Learn and The Promised Neverland. The reason why those three series hold a special place to me is because of the fact that during the time that they were in their initial stages, I was going through some very dark places in my life. Short version, basically, two people that I used to know who I considered really close friends backstabbed me. Took a lot of things from me on the cha-ching side, and nearly made me homeless, basically. So and to the point that I was thinking about ending it all, if you know what I mean by that. And it was just these three series that kept me going because I wanted to see what was going to happen next. So they could have been the worst series in the world, and I still would have loved them. So because of just how they kept me going and how they helped me get out of that difficult and dark place in my time, and what elevated Dr. Stone above them, it's just the cast, just the cast being superior, Senku being a phenomenal protagonist, Suika being one of the best child characters in the series, in not just the series but in general, and just like Kohaku, Kazuki, Chrome, just everyone just being such phenomenal characters that I wanted to enjoy and carry on seeing this journey right to the end. So yeah, as Polyjam said, go and watch the anime if you want, or just read the manga from the beginning if you want, or do both. I personally would do both, and that's all I've got to say on that matter.
Okay, great. Do you have any? You want to do your sign out that you usually do?
So yeah, really, if people decide to watch the second part of this stream, thank you for joining me and Polyjams. Thank you for joining us on the first part, and of course I'll still do the review of chapter 219 of Dr. Stone. That's still going to be a staple. Might be tomorrow, might be Tuesday, we just never know. So yeah, until then, peace.
Don't you do? Sorry, you still recording?